Robotyne. So at Robotyne, the Ukrainian forces has seemingly broke through to the south of Robotyne. Fighting is reported towards Prokopivka, with some rumors that the Ukrainian forces have entered into Prokopivka. However, there are also information from neutral source, Surya Maps, saying that the Russian forces have started their counter-attack. And they say that the counter-offensive starts now. I'm not sure what is it supposed to mean, but so far there is a lot of conflicting information, because there are even some rumors talking about Ukrainian forces have already entered and fighting or even captured Prokopivka. However, this is unlikely to be true, because so far we still have not seen any of my trusted pro-Ukrainian sources mention something like that. However, what we do have is that fighting is indeed moving towards this direction. According to Myroshnikov, the information is that the fighting begins to be over for Prokopivka. So on top of that, the Ukrainian forces continue to be fighting on the eastern part of Robotyne, as well as towards Verbove. So as usual, this is Verbove, and there is a major defense line around Verbove, and Ukrainian forces is currently still attacking towards in this direction, and they are also pushing east. Information coming from Rybar suggesting that the Ukrainians are still trying to gain a foothold, and they managed to capture one of the Russian stronghold. Other than that, we move into the Velikan Novosilka sector. There is also continued fighting over in this region here. Ukrainian forces allegedly are pushing towards Starolimnivska. They are pushing down this road. There is this major road that the Ukrainians are pushing towards, because there's no settlements over on the eastern part of this river, of the Mokryali river, so they don't really have to stop, and they can actually go directly to go for Starolimnivka. However, according to Russian sources, it seems like the Russians are still bombarding Ukrainians over at Uruzhaine and Staromayoske, and that's largely seems to be the diversion of in terms of the storyline. And there are also information of the Ukrainians actually fighting on the eastern part of Uruzhaine, and they are fighting in this area here where the Russians are still holding a line. So that actually contradicts the information about the Ukrainians heading towards Starolimnivka. So there is this dual track, of reality. So depending on which one you prefer, there is also reinforcement being reported on the western part of Staromayoske and Uruzhaine region, with Ukrainian forces moving into the western part of Staromayoske, as well as at Levatny and the northern part of Prione. And this concentration of forces in this area here is being predicted, or at least mentioned by the Russian side, on the pro-Russian side, as a possibility of a start of another offensive operations by the Ukrainians, and most likely they will be heading in this way to attack Prione and then do a pincer and then try to control this entire area here. And this is probably what the Ukrainians might be planning if this information is correct. Fighting is also reported in the north of Prione, and this is actually the Russian reported by the Russian Defense Ministry, which is probably corroborating this information, because the Ukrainians are pushing in as reinforcement and the Russians are engaging them to stop them, which is also probably why the Ukrainians have another force over at Levatny, and then they can actually hit the rear in a pincer, and then another one over from the other side from Staromayoske direction. And so that's all from the Zaporizhia front region. And hello everyone, this is Defense Politics Asia, and welcome to the new version of the SitRep. And do press the like button, subscribe, and this is the time you actually hit the like button and destroy it. There is, over at the VUHLEDAR region, there is very interesting information. There is fighting being reported near VUHLEDAR. Information actually coming from the Ukrainian Defense Ministry, so this is not a pro-Russian propaganda. And if this is true, we might actually see a new offensive beginning for the Russian side, and the Russians probably might be starting a new offensive. This corroborates with the rumors coming from Surya Maps. He cryptically say that the counter-attack begins. And this might actually be part of this new offensive action from the Russian side. But this is just the initial stage. This is the first time we see a reporting of fighting at VUHLEDAR, so take that with a pinch of salt. We have no idea what this is about just yet. And moving away, other than the usuals, fighting in the area of Marinka, at Krasnohorivka, at Pervomaisky, and we move on into the Bakhmut front. So this Bakhmut city, the famous Bakhmut city that was totally smashed. In the southern flank of the Bakhmut city, in the Bakhmut front, the Ukrainian forces continue their offensive operations to capture Klishchievka, Andriivka, Kurdyomivka, as well as Ozeryanivka. Information from pro-Ukrainian sources seems to be really bullish, talking about certain increasing their control zone around the Ozeryanivka region, saying some success here and there, tactical success here and there. So, however, we do also have no pushback in terms that the Ukrainian Defense Ministry actually say that the Russians are actually the one attacking Klishchievka. But of course, if you have been following DPA for a while, you would have also noticed by now that the Ukrainian Defense Ministry tend to say their own offensive as Russians doing the attack. So situation here have not largely changed. In terms of the front line is not clear just yet, but rumors suggesting that the Ukrainians are doing pretty decent. But what is interesting is that, as I mentioned about the Russians starting this new offensive, Ukrainian Defense Ministry also mentioned about the Russians attacking towards Ivanytsky, as well as an attack over in the area of Orikovo-Vasilivka. So these two attacks is both reported by the Ukrainian Defense Ministry, and I find this extremely interesting. And I'm not sure if this is just another projection, if maybe it's the Ukrainians that are actually doing the attacking. We're not sure, but we will definitely have to continue to monitor to see what the reality is. And so far, no pro-Russian sources talked about this just yet. And the thing about projection is that there might be some truth to it, because there is fighting reported at Zalynyansky. This is reported by the Russian Defense Ministry, with the Ukrainian forces attacking in this area here towards Zalynyansky, and most likely this might be a corroboration of the information of the fighting along the highway, where there is this footage of the Ukrainian forces heading down this highway, and then they actually cross into the forest and attacking towards the Russian positions towards Zalynyansky. And maybe this is the Russian Defense Ministry actually talking about this exact action that is actually happening towards Zalynyansky. The Russian forces allegedly has been pushed out of this forest region here, but it cannot be confirmed because these are just projections based on the video footage of Ukrainians storming this forest area. And this might actually be related to the Ukrainians claiming that the Russians are attacking Orikovo-Vasilivka. So these two might all be actually the same attack. Actually, they are all Ukrainian attacking. We cannot be sure about this, but this is just how it looks like. And the Ukrainians are still ongoing with their offensive operation in the Crimea front. This is Crimea, and the Ukrainian forces are reportedly attacking at Torsky, Dibrova, at Kuzmini region, and near Ryhorivka. This offensive has been ongoing for some time. The Russians are continuing to hold the line very well, and it looks like there is no breakthrough in sight, tentatively speaking. The Ukrainian Defense Ministry did mention another interesting information over the Sivas front, is that the Russians are attacking at below Horivka. But that's all we know about this. Sivas is here, and this below Horivka. So the most likely, based on what we do know from previous reports, is that the Russians are still attacking from this industrial area, which is also known as the filter station. And there is this high ground. This is a quarry over here. If you go in, you can see that there is a quarry, and this is where the buildings are, and yeah, very hilly region, with the Russian forces probably attacking towards, and probably they want this high ground over there. And the Ukrainian forces definitely are holding over those high ground, yeah, because it just makes sense, because we all watch Star Wars and we know that, you know, having the high ground can cut off your enemy's legs. So moving on, the fighting over at Novoyehorivka is still ongoing, with the Russian Defense Ministry mentioned, oh sorry, I think it's the Russian Defense Ministry. It's a bit hard to click it, click. Oh my freaking god. Yeah, forget it. Okay, never mind. The Russians are still attacking Novoyehorivka, and this is reported most likely, if I'm not wrong, by the Ukrainian Defense Ministry. However, the Russian Defense Ministry actually mentioned the Ukrainians are attacking towards Serhievka, so they are attacking this town, or at least this direction. Most likely, they are contesting for this forest region. The fighting over here is to capture this Serhievka, which was previously captured by the Russian forces from the Ukrainians' hands. And that's all from the Svatove region. Interesting is that we don't get any fighting over at Novoselivske. And over at the Kupyansk front, the Russian Kupyansk offensive has been gone. There's no more Russian offensive at Kupyansk. They have given up. The Ukrainians have succeeded in holding the line, and the Russians didn't seem to manage to capture any town over at this region, although they did improve their buffer zones. And the only information we have over in this area here is the fighting at Sinkivka. So the information coming from the Russian Defense Ministry, they mentioned about defending against Ukrainian attacks over in the area of Sinkivka. And Ukrainians hold Sinkivka, and they also hold Petropolivka, which is over here. This Petropolivka. And that's it from the Kupyansk front. And going to the most boring front, which is the Kherson region. At the Kherson region, we have the Ukrainians continue their amphibious operations along the Dnipro River. There is some landing reported around here and over here south of Valentinsky, somewhere probably north of Zaborine. And then there's another force that is landing somewhere close to on this island just off Kozachi Lahire, and probably around this area here. Previously, the Ukrainians actually landed here, have a beachhead, and it was destroyed by the Russian forces, according to pro-Russian sources. So, despite all these failures or seemingly meaningless operations, the Ukrainians are still putting their trust in all these riverine operations, and we will continue to monitor what it will be. And tentatively, we also have information of a Sukhoi 25 shot down over Zolota Balka, and then there was one more over at Semennikivka. So it does show that the Ukrainians continue to have air support. And yeah, that's it for the summary for the day of 548 for the 25th of August. And I'll see you in the next update.